Okay, this is the new high compression head for my Ford Model A. Hopefully it gives me a little more power. This is the 5.5 compression. It's not 6 or higher, but it's a lot more than what the stock compression was, which is like 4 or 4.5, I forget. Anyway, so one quick thing to note when you get your, if you're curious, you'll notice the cylinder for the head that sits on top of the cylinders. These are heart-shaped, so that's one indication it's a high compression head. My stock head I took off, I already packaged it up, but it's got a different, looks kind of more rounded, I guess. I don't know what to call it, but these are, I guess, referred to as heart-shaped in the cylinder. So when this comes brand new, you can see it's not very clean. So before you paint it, you have to prep it. So I did a few things. So I used 320 grit sandpaper. This is great sandpaper for any kind of metal prep work. So I sanded down the head, then took a wire brush to it. That wire brush is pretty worn out, but did that, a lot of cracks and surface and areas. Then I wiped it down. Well, I washed it with some degreaser too. I don't have that here, but use some lacquer thinner. And you just want to get as much substance off the surface as possible so the paint will stick to it. You can't see, let me show you. No, I taped the, let me see if I can show you here. I put tape where the threads are for the spark plugs, and I also put tape around where the distributor shaft goes there. So there's tape. There's right here. There's painter's tape there just to keep the paint from going in those holes. I didn't tape every hole up on the inside, but for those I did. I didn't want the paint getting on the threads of the spark plugs because that's just more problems I want to deal with. And real quick, a tip for taping off, recommend using this blue painter's tape. To get a precise fit on the thing you're painting, and this is where the water neck goes here up to the radiator. What you can do is you first tape general down here in the curves and things. You take a sharp blade, like a razor blade, and all you do is you just kind of start on the edge, and the blade just goes around the edge of the metal surface. The sharper the surface, the easier this is to do. And look at that, that's a perfect fit there. And since this is a brand new head, the edges here are just brand new milled, they're very sharp. Anyway, so I'm going to paint this and then go on to the next step of putting my new high compression head back onto my Ford Model A. All right, let's look at the head after it's painted. So it came out well. You can see the areas I taped off. So inside the threads here for the spark plugs are clean. Neck is good, and and the sides are good. Everything came out well. And while you have your head off, you might as well do the water neck. So I sanded this down, scraped it. You get the same can of paint, you might as well paint everything. And typical with a Model A project, I might as well do this intake, water intake as well. So sanded this down and painted it. So usually as one project expands to multiple things. So originally replacing the head, but since I had these off and they looked kind of old and scummy and just need a little bit of touch up, so cleaned everything, clean surfaces that'll hopefully seal well with the gaskets when I put it back on, like this here. Alright, so we are ready to put this new head that's freshly painted back on the Model A block. One thing I forgot to mention when I was covering painting the Ford Model A head, and this is really for any engine parts as well, the color paint you use, this is Antique Ford Country, Antique Ford Green, and that's the paint you use.
Most of the Model A stores that have online shopping or catalogs, you can order this, and it's a great paint.